Welcome to today's session, which is on advanced applications and team dynamics. And today we're diving into two very fascinating areas of sports psychology. One is flow state, which is the optimal zone of performance where everything feels effortless, and team dynamics and leadership. This is the psychology of how groups, not just individuals, they achieve excellence. And I think of this session as moving beyond the basics of sports psychology as mental skills, but right now more of as a realm of mastery. This is what separates good athletes from great athletes and good teams from championship winning ones. And we will explore both the science and the practical tools you can apply pretty much right away. By the end, you'll have strategies to enhance not only your personal performance, but also if you are a coach, your team's synergy. And here's our roadmap for today. Flow state, what it is, why it matters, how athletes and teams can deliberately create the conditions for it. So you get into this flow state. Next one is team dynamics. We'll be exploring why success in sport often depends less on the individual talent and more on how people interact, communicate, and lead together. And of course, practical applications, reflection exercises, demonstrations, and homework task to put the ideas into action. And in the end, the integration, which is gonna tie together topics together, and which is going to leave you with a clear plan for, I would say, longer term mental skills training and just understanding of sports psychology altogether. And this is going to be a deep dive into practical, challenging, and hopefully inspiring tasks as well. So let's go. Let's start with the flow. Why flow matters. The author of the flow is Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He's the Hungarian-American psychologist who coined the term flow to describe a state of total absorption and effortless performance. Athletes often call it being in the zone, and in this state, skills and performance, it feels automatic. Time seems to slow down, and performance just often reaches the very peak and the personal best. Flow state matters because it is closely tied to peak performance. Research consistently shows that athletes competing at their very best, they often report this sense or feeling of being in the flow. But beyond this, performance flow also enhances confidence, enjoyment, and creativity, and this fun feeling of being in the sport, of enjoying and being in your sports environment and doing the sports. It's the state where sport really feels the most rewarding to you as an athlete and also as a coach. Flow has some recognizable characteristics. Jackson and Csikszentmihalyi identified several core features in athletes. One is total concentration, being locked in with distractions fading completely away. Also, another one is merging of action and awareness, which means not thinking about performing, but just performing, just doing. Another one is a distorted sense of time. Minutes feels like seconds or seconds like stretch out. It's like kind of being in a slow motion. Another one is effortless control, where skills, they feel smooth and automatic and not forced at all. When athletes describe their very best games, they almost always mention these qualities. Flow isn't mystical or mythical, it is a psychological state. And this state can be studied, and it is studied, and it can be understood and can deliberately be cultivated. So there has been a lot of research on this flow state and a lot of reviews and research papers, and it has been systematically reviewed that athletes' accounts of flow and found recurring themes. They described it as automatic, energizing, as rewarding for its own sake. Interestingly, Many athletes say that flow feels like it just happens as just a happening. They cannot always predict when it will occur. But research shows that while flow cannot be guaranteed, the conditions for flow can be deliberately cultivated. And that's our focus today. How to recognize those conditions and create them more consistent. According to the authors' flow theory, flow occurs when three conditions are met. One is challenge matches the skill, which means that the task is neither too easy, which leads to boredom eventually, and it's not too hard, which leads to more anxiety and frustration. Second one is that goals are clear. Athletes know exactly what they're trying to achieve in the moment. And third, feedback is immediate. They can instantly see or feel whether they are succeeding. When these three conditions align, athletes are far more likely to enter flow. This also means why flow is relatively rare in everyday life, but more common in sports, because sports naturally provides clear goals, instant feedback, and challenges matched to skill. To continue, one of the most important ideas in flow theory is that challenge skill balance. Multiple researchers have confirmed that flow emerges when the athletes face challenges that are demanding enough to require from them full engagement, but not so overwhelming that they feel impossible. Think of it like Goldilocks. Like if it's too easy, boredom. Too hard, anxiety, frustration. Just right is the flow state. For athletes, this means deliberately seeking these environments that stretch them just beyond their current skill, but still keeps within the reach. Coaches can support this by designing drills and challenges in that exact sweet spot to maximize the flow opportunities. Absorption is another defining feature of this state of being in a flow. And Swan in 2015 studied elite golfers and found that during this flow state, athletes reported complete concentration, total absorption in the task. In this state, distractions such as crowd noise, self-doubt, or even fatigue fade into the background, and attention really narrows entirely to the immediate action that athlete is performing. Well, this matters because athletes often struggle with scattered or divided attention, and flow really is the antidote, which often like is really how it is possible to deal with this narrowed with this scattered attention. So flow is the antidote. It aligns all focus on one thing, which is the present moment, which is what the athlete is doing right now, and performance rises dramatically as a result of that. Yet another fascinating aspect of flow is the loss of self-consciousness. Researcher Jackson found that athletes in flow, they reported a reduced awareness of themselves as separate individuals. In this state, they stop worrying about appearance, reputation, or overanalyzing mistakes. Instead, they fully trust their instincts and training. In many ways, this is the opposite of choking under pressure, in many, many ways. When athletes choke, they become hyper self-conscious, mental chatter kicks in, the bad mental chatter, the self-pity dialogue kicks in. But when they flow, self-consciousness fades and natural ability just takes over. Why I put this image here? Because when a tiger or a lion is hunting, they're not self-pitying, they're not talking to themselves in head how good or bad they are, how bad they did this step or whatever. They're just being in the moment. So think of it also as flow being as of like a tiger or lion hunting. It has a clear goal, hunt down the deer, for example.